What's the cardinal rule of behavior change? What gets rewarded gets repeated, and whatever gets punished gets avoided. When you run a company or department, it's sometimes difficult to find solutions to challenging problems. It's harder when the people who know the answers or can figure them out easily won't speak up or share them. And the reason they don't speak up could very well be your fault. There are lots of reasons why they don't, too. Most of the reasons are related to the answer to one simple question. If I speak up, what does this mean to me? If the answer is someone else taking credit, no thanks. Just not going to do it. It doesn't sound appealing at all. If the answer involves you or any of their other supervisors saying, great idea, make it happen, and ends up with the employee working late every night and weekends instead of going home, a bunch of extra micromanagement and other unnecessary and unwanted hassles, again, no thanks. If the solution involves no rewards for doing anything beyond the minimum required to keep their jobs, but significant risks, hassles, and headaches, it's not hard to figure out why your culture lacks innovation and your costs of doing business remain artificially inflated. A sales rep at a medical company, not the company controller or CPA, talking about a sales rep, uncovered a tax break that the small company could take advantage of. He went out and he told the owner. What he discovered saved the business owner exponentially more than the rep's annual salary. You know what the owner did next? He took advantage of it and he saved a lot of money. When the rep followed up with the owner a few months later, the owner said, "Yeah, you were right. Thanks." What gets rewarded gets repeated. Guess who stopped looking for ways to save the business owner money? Who knows? The next idea or observation could have been worth even more, but that owner will never know. And that's the problem. Let me give you another story. A West Coast operations manager was working for a large international company with production lines all over the world that was having problems with lines being shut down at a cost of over $1 million a day. The executive team came up with a solution, which was to charter planes to ship line-critical parts at a cost of $300,000 per day. This went on for many months. The executives bragged and were patting each other on the back, claiming their solution was saving the company $700,000 a day. This manager saw it differently, as an unnecessary cost, $300,000 a day. The operations manager hopped on a plane and spent 2 weeks at a facility and solved the problem. Not only for that facility, but all the other ones too. When it came time for his annual bonuses, they gave him a $10,000 bonus, which he appreciated. But here's the kicker. They told him not to tell anyone that he got a bonus because they weren't giving him out that year. He saved this company millions of dollars. They gave him $10K and told him to keep it a secret. And they wonder why they don't have extra money to pay bonuses. Maybe if they had a culture that rewarded, like really rewarded exceptional ideas, innovation and profit-generating initiatives, maybe they'd get more exceptional ideas, innovation, and profit-saving ideas, and could afford to pay more bonuses. Look, if I owned that company, I would have written a very large check, had articles written about this manager in the company newsletter, showcased him on the company website, and treated him like a superhero. Why? Because I'd want to make an example out of him that everyone else would want to follow. My goal would be to turn every employee into a wannabe superhero and fully engage them in the pursuit of money-saving and revenue-generating improvements that benefit all of us. What if their culture was different? What other ideas worth tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of dollars lie stillborn in the minds of their employees? Nobody knows. And again, that's the problem. Sometimes it's really expensive to be cheap in business. If you're not the owner or are limited in the ways that you can reward and inspire the people on your team or department, what should you do? The answer is whatever you can. In my Army days, I was a second lieutenant and platoon leader, and I found myself in rural Panama working on a road and bridge project that stretched over about 20 miles. More specifically, my platoon was tasked with building a bridge over a big creek or small river at the beginning of this stretch of new road. There was a unit that arrived before us, worked for 2 weeks ahead of our unit, and then we were scheduled to work for 2 weeks, and every unit following us was scheduled to work for 2 weeks, and there was a specific timeline that each unit had and a list of expected accomplishments. The big brass, the generals and colonels, had planned this project to take 3 months, and expectations for what would be accomplished by each unit and when. When our unit arrived, our project was about a week behind the schedule that our leadership team had worked out. When we left, our project was more than a week ahead of schedule. That means we accomplished about twice what they thought we could or should be able to do. It was hot. It was humid. And as my old company commander said, hired troops don't get into mischief. And the leadership plan coming down from above was, we're going to work these guys from the time the sun comes up till the time the sun goes down. And all they're going to want to do is crawl in their racks and sleep when we get finished. And in large part, they were right. That's exactly what happened. I was probably 24, 25 years old. And while I was responsible for the leadership of 35 to 40 soldiers, I was pretty limited in what I could do to reward them for their efforts, especially since we were in another country. But I did what I could. There was a creek, like I said, a creek or small river, whatever. And there's a canopy of trees over there. And while I couldn't give guys days off or send them into town because we were in a rural area, I looked at what I could do. And what I told those guys was, guys, I really appreciate your effort. And as you know, I'm very limited in what I can do to reward you, but I think I've got an idea. What do you guys think? And I talked to my platoon sergeant, my squad leaders, and I said, hey, if you notice right around the corner of the creek here, there's a little area where the guys are out of sight and out of sound from anybody coming down the road where no one's going to be seen. And there's a tree canopy so that when the colonels or generals or whoever it is fly their helicopters over the project, if you stay under the tree canopy, you won't be seen. And I talked to the platoon sergeant and said, hey, why don't we work out a schedule where we can give two guys a few hours off and they can go lay in the stream and chill out and relax a little bit. And we cycled them through. I said, but I explained to the squad leaders and I explained to the platoon sergeant, and they explained to the troops that this was something that they couldn't talk about. They had to keep their mouths shut. They had to be quiet. And it was between us. And if the word got out that I would get in trouble, but I was willing to take that risk, and they would too, and we wouldn't be able to do anything like this in the future. And you know what? When you have good people that you like and you trust, good things happen. And these are grown adults, and they're very capable of doing what they had to do, and they did. So bottom line is, we were able to cycle some of those guys out, and it wasn't like all day, but you know what? If they could get a 2-hour break, it was 90 degrees out, and they can sit in the stream and relax a little bit, they loved it, and it made them work harder. And the bond that I built with those guys, I guess, really to this day remains. Like I said, how do I phrase this? The guys just did great. They didn't mess around when they could have. They put safety first, and nobody got injured. Honestly, the guys were amazing. I was super proud of them, the work they accomplished, and the professional, workmanlike approach that they embraced. Again, did I risk getting yelled at? Yes. Did the guys know that I stuck my neck out for them? Yes. Did I build a bond of trust with my team? And did they know how much I genuinely appreciated them? Absolutely. I served in that unit 5 more years, and the bond I felt with those guys remains to this day. I even wrote about it in my book, Inclusive Leadership, Unleashing the Power of People. In closing, remember that what gets rewarded gets repeated. Make sure you recognize and resist the temptation to punish people who do extra work with extra work. Remember that whatever gets punished gets avoided. So we'll catch you soon, and I hope these ideas and perspectives have been helpful.